Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about vehicle maintenance, and we're going to be specifically talking about cleaning off your battery terminals. Now, this is something that I find that a lot of people will actually overlook. I can't tell you how many times I've been to an auto parts store and seen that people have their hoods up, but they're there for a completely different reason. Like maybe they're there just putting windshield wiper fluid in their reservoir, and then you just happen to glance underneath their hood and you see that they have all this green and white corrosion all over their battery terminals. And mentally, what I think is, soon enough, that person is going to be on the side of the road wanting to know why their vehicle won't start. Now, sure, that could always be like a starter. It could be any multiple number of things. It could be a bad fuse in some cases. But I find that a lot of times, something as simple as cleaning battery terminals solves so many problems. So I think it's something that you guys will be willing to watch. Hopefully you'll be willing to watch it, but I think you should watch it all the way through and get some kind of insight on what it takes. You don't need to take your vehicle to a car mechanic to clean battery terminals. I had 2 co-workers say that they did that. They told me that. Hey, my vehicle wouldn't start. I took it here. They cleaned off the battery terminals. Everything works great now. They charged me $200. Are you kidding me? I would have done it for $150. But in all seriousness, I think it's one of those things where a lot of people are intimidated by, and hey, it's an automotive issue. I have to take my vehicle to a mechanic. And I recommend you take your vehicle to a mechanic for certain things. But cleaning a battery terminal is not one of those things. I cannot believe that someone would shell out $200 for someone to put a wire brush to their terminals and clean those off. But they were happy because they're like, hey, well, at least my vehicle works now. To each his own, I guess. So anyways, let's go ahead and pop the hood and get our hands dirty. Okay, everybody, so today what we're doing is, as I said before, we're cleaning off the battery terminals. Now, as you can see, I've already done this job technically, but what I wanted to do today is go back and put some dielectric grease in, but I figured this was a good opportunity to show you how to do this from start to finish. So anytime that you're working with taking off your battery terminals or you're doing maintenance like this, there's a couple good things that you want to have with you. The one thing that I'm bringing in today is the dielectric grease. This basically is a grease that you coat your post and your terminal, all your connections with, to make sure you have good electrical conduction. Bringing in a wire brush. So you can use this type of wire brush, or they even make a wire brush that's specifically made for battery terminals that slide over the top and you twist. All right, so here we are. We're at the battery terminals, and you can kind of see, like, I've already cleaned these before, but what I wanted to do today was take these back off and put some dielectric grease. I didn't have it with me the first time that I was doing this job, but I figured that this was a really good time to show you guys how to do this from start to finish. And I figured it's a little bit of an impromptu video, but I figured it would be helpful to some people. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off, if you have a top post battery terminals like this, where you're basically where this little lead piece is coming out of the top of the battery, generally this is going to be, this nut and this nut over here is going to be a 10 millimeter, which is what I have here. And if you have a side post, which means that this little guy here, it's actually going to be a female thread that's going to be on the back side of the battery or on the side over here or something. That's generally going to be in like an 8 millimeter or something small like that. But what we're going to do, let's go ahead and disconnect our positive and our negative terminals. So I'm going to loosen up the negative here. And it doesn't need to completely come off. It just needs to be a little loose so that this can wiggle back and forth. And we're going to do the same on the other side. Just enough where it'll give it a little bit of a wiggle. There we go. And I'm going to remove the negative, which is the black. The black is the negative side. So we're going to pull that off. Now I just want to stress, now your vehicle may or may not have additional wires like this hanging off like mine does. Some people will have accessory type things plugged or connected to this guy, and that's strictly it could be for a car stereo system or a backup camera, or any other kind of device that you may have on your vehicle. So this is something for me personally. But your vehicle may not have this, so it may just look like this by itself. So I'm going to take the battery and we're going to put it off to the side here where it's out of the way, and so that it's not swinging back over and making contact with anything. And then we're going to do the same on the positive. And I am working around the camera, so I apologize. So we're just going to get that guy out of the way as well. All right, I think it'll stay there. Okay. And these little felt pads, you just take these off. This kind of helps with absorbing acids and that type of thing. And it also kind of helps as an identifier. Sometimes you get a red one, sometimes you get a black one, but when I bought the battery, they gave me a red and a green. And what you want to do is just take your wire brush and just brush the terminal. You don't have to worry about this shocking you or anything like that. It's not going to shock you. Just go right around. And like I said, I've already done this, so I don't really need to go too in depth with this. So you just brush that off. You go over here and hit the other side as well. Okay, so those are nice and bright, shiny. They don't have any corrosion on them. And then we want to go on the inside here, and we want to clean out both the positive and the negative on the inside. Now, if you have that special tool that I was talking about that goes over the top and you spin it and cleans this connection, that tool has a cap on it. When you remove that cap, it actually has a wire brush that sticks straight up, and you can actually just insert it into this hole here and clean it out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, and you guys are probably very familiar with this. This is a piece of Scotch-BRITE pad, and there's different colors of this. White is very, very soft. You have green, which you see a lot of people use around their kitchen sinks. It's like a medium grade to heavy duty. And then you have a red, which is really, really abrasive. I'm going to go with a white. This stuff it's coarse, but it's soft enough that you can probably clean glass with it and not have, you know, automotive glass anyways, and not have it scratch up your glass. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this up like so, and I'm going to insert this. Now I might have to resize this a couple times, but we'll see. Yeah, might need to make it a little bit tighter. Hold on. This is the pad that I use for this vehicle, so I know this fits. Let's try this one. And you just twist it in there. There we go. You just twist it in there like this, and that cleans the inside of the terminal. Kind of just work it up and down and give it a little spin. And we pull that out. You can see that it's, sorry, working around the camera. You can see that it's pretty shiny in there. You can see the reflection. So I'm going to get that out of the way again. I'm going to do the same thing on the positive side. So now the positive side is going to be a little bit larger in diameter than the negative. So if you start with the negative, you'll feel that when you go to the positive side, it feels more loose, like this. It's more loose in there, whereas that side is tighter. So that just kind of helps you with polarity issues, and so that you don't hook your battery up incorrectly. So they'll generally make this post bigger than another one, so that these terminals can only fit on one side or the other. It keeps you from messing up. So I think this is pretty clean. Like I said, I've done this before, so it's all shiny in there. You can see in there it's pretty glossy. So what I'm going to do now that I did not do before is I'm going to take some dielectric grease. And you don't have to worry about this shocking you or anything, but I'm going to put a little bit of this dielectric grease on my fingertip and just wipe it on there. Just like that. And that helps conduct the energy from the battery into your electrical system, but it also helps keep this from corroding. So I'm walking behind the camera, and I'm going to do it on the same on the other side. Let's get this guy out of our way again. Okay. All right, so I just took a little rag here. I'm just cleaning the grease off my finger. Okay, and so basically that's all that you need to do. But I will say this additionally, if you do have other things connected to this, so you can see here I have this cable hooked to my vehicle, I have this cable that's hooked to my vehicle. If you do have additional things like that, I would recommend getting yourself a little magnetic tray like this. Just set it here, and let's do this side just for the sake of showing you. Like again, I've already done all this, so these are already clean. I'm being a little bit more cautious since I got a camera in front of me. Go real slow when you get to the end. You don't want to drop this guy and lose it. And then this is a magnetic tray, so you can see it just stuck. See how it's stuck? Keeps you from losing nuts and bolts. Very, very handy to have. You can find them on Amazon, auto parts store. And you can see that this connection is shiny, it's clean. So what you would do is, if you have anything like this hooked to your post, you would do the same thing. You would take this brush and brush off this side and get it clean, and flip it over and brush off the other side and make it clean. If you wanted to put a little bit of dielectric grease on that as well, you could. And let's go ahead and just put a little bit on there. It's not going to hurt anything. All it does is helps make sure that everything stays conductive, I guess. I don't know what the word I want to use there. And I'll pull this guy off. All they do is slip over, and apparently this metal is bent in there a little bit. There it goes. And I'm just gonna wipe that side and wipe this side. And let me get my rag and wipe my finger off. Okay, so we got that on there. And we got this guy on there. And then we're going to take the nut, and what you could do is you can see here I did mine, I brushed the other side of the nut as well. So all of it just keeps everything. Sorry about my hand being in the way, hang on a minute. But every surface that you can keep clean helps make sure you got a good solid connection. That way you don't have any flickering headlights, you don't have any kind of low battery power or hard starting or anything like that on your vehicles. It's basically just a maintenance that you do. So let's go ahead, I'm going to put the positive on there, and I'm going to just center it up. I guess maybe OCD or something, I don't know. I always like everything kind of centered up and looking nice. And then I'm going to get this magnetic tray out of the way. I'm going to bring this guy in there. Now you could also coat the inside of this as well, but there's enough on here that I think will be fine. Okay, so I'm going to get that centered up. And first, I'm doing this one-handed. And when it comes to tightening down the tension on this, you want to go hand tight. You're not looking to torque it down so tight. You don't need a torque wrench or anything, but you want to make sure that this doesn't wiggle back and forth. All right, so you can see that this didn't move. This is good and solid. So I can just bump it one last time. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Hopefully my hand doesn't block it too much. Let me relocate. I'm using my thumb here to hold this socket still. And all of these other two wires are pressing together now, so. The shake is very tight, you can't pull up on it. It's very solid. And then I'll just give one last little bump. Okay, and then that's it. That's all there is to it. So make sure that none of my wires are pinched. Like this is loose, nothing's pinched here. And my cap will not fit on my thing here because I haven't notched this out for these wires that I added. So if I wanted to cut this out with a Dremel tool or something, then this would sit all the way down flush.
Oopsie.
So did anybody catch the mistake there? Anybody catch the mistake that I did? It's not a deal breaker. It's not a critical mistake, but I didn't put the little felt pads back on. So if you caught that, bonus points. Again, I'm just worried about making the video and I got a little bit ahead of myself, but it's not a necessary. Oh my God, hold on. I was like in between gears or something. Okay, so it's not a deal breaker if you don't have the felt pads. Your vehicle may not even have felt pads, so that just shows you like how much it's of a deal breaker it's not. Nice and tight. And I'll do the other on the other side here. All right, and there we go with the power of editing. We have the felt pad underneath the positive side of the terminal. And everything is buttoned up, everything is tight. We'll check this one more time. Nice and tight. Check your accessory wires, that they're tight as well. Nothing's moving. And that's all that it is. Everything else is nice and clean. And we got good battery terminals. If you want to, you can put a little more grease on her. You don't have to. It's not necessary. It's not a deal breaker. Just like that, you can put some more on there. Just coat the very top of it. Doesn't hurt a thing. Might not even help at all, but I don't know. Just put some in there to kind of help with corrosion issues and make sure that nothing nasty happens. Okay, and that's it. All right, so now we're going to put the key in, and you can hear there's a audible tone there, so that is definitely a good sign. We got our instrument clusters lighting up, which is great, and it starts up very easily, no hesitation. So looks like we did a really good job, guys. Really good job. All right, guys, there you go. That's how quick and easy it is. It probably takes like a whole 10 minutes maybe to do the job from start to finish. Maybe took me a little bit longer just strictly because I'm telling you guys how to do it and I'm working around a camera. But when you do this by yourself, it's very simple. The only thing that I would stress to not do, don't ever touch your positive and your negative battery terminals together, and try to keep them from touching other pieces of metal. Some people might say don't touch your positive, don't touch your negative. Just keep them both from touching other metal items. You don't want them making any kind of ground contact. So basically all I did is just pulled mine away from everything and kind of wedged it in between two pieces of something that was plastic, and it works just fine. Again, if you have like a top post battery, it's probably going to be a 10 millimeter nut. That could vary depending on what type of connection you have, but I think that's pretty universal for the most part. Some people will cut those off and they'll put aftermarket ones on, and that nut size might be different. A nut size might be a 1/2 inch or something, but 10 millimeter is generally pretty good. And if you have a side mounted one, generally it's like an 8 millimeter, something like that. Again, it could vary between vehicles, but I think that's pretty typical for most of them. So I hope you found the video informative. I hope you learned something out of it. I do have more videos coming. I did go to a couple more state parks and film some stuff there, but I got rained out and in one issue I had camera issues completely, so I only have bits and pieces of a video, not enough there to make a full content video. But expect to see more of those coming really soon. Thank you everybody for your continued support. Thank you for following me on Instagram and communicating with me there as well. That's all I have, so until next time, please guys, be safe, stay prepared, and I'll catch you on the next video. What I would always suggest to everybody, sorry about the lighting, oh my god, it's super bright here. I can move over here. And just anybody, maybe even if you're not, maybe if you're just looking to find a way, hit me in the leg. What's going on everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Very simple, and I think it's something that some people are afraid of.